Hello, Liza. I am responding here to your paper to controversy about vaccines. Okay. Vaccinations are one of the greatest advances in the history of medicine. Vaccines have helped to eradicate diseases such as smallpox as well as greatly reduce the effects of other diseases such as measles, mumps, rubella, polio, influenza, and so many more. Despite the benefits of vaccinations, there are many people that still oppose the use of vaccinations. The controversy concerning vaccinations includes those who choose to get vaccinations regularly and confidently, and those who question the efficacy and effectiveness of vaccines and therefore are hesitant to get vaccinated. The opposition against vaccinations dates all the way back to the 1800s when the first ever vaccine for smallpox was created. The debate often focuses on the health of individuals and mandates that may infringe on people's freedoms. Okay. One thing I was noticing there is that you were using, and as you were listening to, right? You were using the word vaccinations, 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 vaccinations. And vaccines, 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 vaccines. In English, it just is a style issue. I have no idea if it's like this in other languages. But in English right now, like one of the ways that we signal that we're fancy is by using lots of different words for the same things. Really, if I had to think back and talk about how that developed, it makes a lot of sense to me that like the more synonyms you know, the more ways you have of explaining what a vaccine is, the more you want to show that off so that your writing, your work, your ideas sound more impressive. All that is to say that rather than say vaccine, you could talk about immunizations. That's definitely one way of approaching that. And I think if you just go back through and do some editing there, you should be able to find ways in your wording that you can just take some of those vaccination or vaccine instances out, like in this sentence, the controversy concerning vaccinations include those who choose to get the vaccinations. So, like, there's a place you could use them, right? The controversy concerning vaccinations includes those who choose to get them regularly. That's another way you can do that. Okay. Legal requirements mandating specific vaccinations have dated all the way back to the 1850s when the first school required smallpox vaccination for attendance. Throughout the time between 1850, when the first mandate was created, and 1880, there were many other mandates put into place until all 50 states had laws that mandated certain vaccinations for school attendance. Okay, so does that mean that between 1850 and 1880, more and more states had the laws until by 1880, all 50 states had the laws? No, because we didn't have 50 states in 1880. So, little thing to sort out there. Okay. Because vaccinations often focus on adolescents, schools and universities true major adolescents? I would say children rather than adolescents. But I don't know. We'll see where you're going. Schools and universities are two major institutions in the United States that require certain vaccines for attendance. Although there are certain exemptions for religious or philosophical reasons, it is within the duty of the United States to protect the people it possibly can. To protect the most people it possibly can. You mean the United States government? To protect the most people it possibly can, and that is where debates begin. I mean, maybe you don't need government, but that is unclear to me there. Yeah. It's unclear to me also because, and you do not have to go into this, but I would just say, like, I think most of the requirements about vaccines you have to get are state requirements rather than federal requirements. And that's a whole other thing. Like I said, you don't have to go into that, but anyway. That is probably a piece of this puzzle. Okay, people believe that, no, I'm going to say another thing, which is that it may really make a lot of sense, too, that states have different rules about that stuff, because it could be the case, I don't know, that like they really need to enforce certain vaccinations because they have a certain population of people, because they have a certain outbreak of a particular disease. I don't know. Anyway, people believe that vaccinations infringe on their freedoms and beliefs, and therefore people believe. In the controversy paper, I often suggest that you throw in some many or some to qualify your argument, to make it a little smaller but stronger. So when you say people believe that vaccinations infringe, I'm like, whoa, I don't, because I don't. But when you say some people or many people, then right away your reader, your audience knows, okay, you're limiting this. And the word some or many suggests that a number that it's big enough, it's significant to talk about, but doesn't, paint you in a corner as far as exactly how many, like whatever, just a significant amount of people. Okay, for example, when the human papillomavirus vaccine, I can't believe I could say that so fast, was created and approved by the FDA in 2006, there were many attempts by states to mandate the vaccination. HPV is a sexually transmitted disease, and at the start it was recommended for just girls to get. I think it might sound smoother to say something like, at the start it was recommended only for girls, maybe? Also in English we have a dislike of ending sentences with verbs. What can I tell you? It's weird. The efforts to require the HPV vaccine caused a great deal of controversy and objection. For religious reasons, many people felt that requiring a vaccine that protects against an STD, quote, contradicts abstinence-based messages. Yes. You need one more sentence in that paragraph to kind of emphasize what that quote just said, or why that's meaningful. For example, you might comment on the fact that the whole thing about abstinence-based is particular to some groups in the United States. You might want to comment on that. But I guess my larger point there is that almost all the time, qualify my argument there, make it a little smaller, almost all the time, you want to end your paragraphs with something you wrote and not with a quote. When you end it with a quote, it's just kind of like you dropping your reader off the edge and just being like, goodbye. And you want to like walk them all the way up to this next section and be like, remember, here's where we've been, or just a little signal to your reader, like, you're still with me, and like, I'm the one guiding you on this journey. I don't know where these metaphors come from. Okay, another cause of debate focuses on human rights. Although the HPV vaccine is now recommended for all youth, regardless of sex, it was only recommended for girls at the start. Many people disagreed and, quote, questioned the fairness of providing a vaccine to one sex only. A further aspect of this debate focuses on the group of people who do not have easy access to vaccinations. I really thought you were going to talk about that more, but maybe you don't need to. Okay. A further aspect of the debate focuses on the group of people who do not have easy access to vaccinations, such as developing countries and low-income or racial minorities. First, a debate arises with the research and testing of vaccines amongst these groups. Wait, what? The process of successfully creating a vaccine is an extensive process that involves many steps, including testing and distribution. Testing vaccinations on, quote, vulnerable populations or in developing countries is extremely difficult and can raise much more concern, but also it is necessary to understand how a vaccine will affect all people of a population, not just certain groups. Okay, I see where we're going. So it feels like, though, in this paragraph, like this point about, is it okay to have, to require or recommend a vaccine for only one gender of people, and then you talk a little bit about people who don't have easy access. So those things seem like smaller points that if you don't go back to them, I don't really know why you're bringing them up, because it doesn't seem like you want to say much about them. But you're getting to the thing you seem to talk about quite a bit, just glancing ahead, which is this issue of how to get the research done and how to test vaccines, particularly testing them to see how they work on particular populations that are vulnerable. Okay. Next, these groups of people have a much harder time accessing vaccinations. Yeah, so see, that's where it does seem like you're kind of just gotta go in there and cut out some of the places you, like you drop that idea about they don't have enough money, and then you go to, it's hard to do that research, and then you come back to money. Okay, for example, in the United States, children who live in poverty with no health insurance have a harder time receiving vaccinations, and there are programs that attempt to help, but, quote, cannot serve all children in need. Oh, and then you stop. So, yes, for revision, this last paragraph, look it over and think about what this paragraph needs to be about, and decide what you can cut out and what you don't need to discuss. Okay, within this controversy, there are many ethical values that drive people's opinions. Most often people rely on, see, there you go, most often. People rely on their values to guide their decision making. Yeah, not always, right? We've all been there. With the concern of vaccinations, health and safety are the most obvious values that present in people on both sides of the controversy. But valued are present in people on both sides of the controversy, but valued very differently by each group. People are hesitant to get vaccines or concerned their health will be put in jeopardy by the contents of the vaccine. Conversely, people who get vaccines confidently are concerned that their health or the health of others will be threatened by the infectious disease. Nicely put. I really like that. That's very clear, and the sentences are sophisticated in their setup, but not unnecessarily so. Almost everyone has health at the top of their list of priorities, especially parents with children. Parents' top priority is the health and safety of their children, and their opinions on mandatory vaccines, quote, were significantly associated with believing in the safety and usefulness of vaccines. That doesn't seem to fit to me, though. Yeah, I don't feel like you need to talk about that. Maybe you do, but I don't know why that's there. Certainty and control are two more values that exist within this controversy. People want to be in control of exactly what goes into their bodies in order to feel safe. The public is not always granted access and knowledge to exactly what the contents of the vaccine include, and therefore causes concern. People are uncertain of what they're putting in their body, which causes hesitation. I would say, I don't feel like it's really that we don't have access, but that it's very hard for people to make meaning out of that information. Like whether that's because science education in our public schools maybe needs to help more with that, or because pharmaceutical companies or doctors or whoever need to work on explaining stuff to people. I don't think it's we don't have the info. I think some people think the info is a lie, and I don't know what to do with those people. And some people see the info, but they're like, I don't know what that means. That would be me, but I'm just trusting, so I'm like, whatever, give it to me. Let's do it. Okay, with vaccination mandates, it is the goal to please everyone, which is why exemptions are given. I don't think it's to please everybody. I think it's to honor people's belief systems. Also protect the entire community at the same time. Within the controversy of vaccination, there are many groups of individuals that hold power and influence the decisions of others. Healthcare providers are one of the biggest influencers regarding vaccination decisions. In a study done in multiple countries around the world, it was found that, quote, health providers were more likely to recommend vaccination if they were vaccinated themselves. There are healthcare providers who aren't vaccinated? Many individuals rely directly on the information and recommendations from their doctors, so they are much more reluctant to get vaccinations if their own doctors have not received them or do not recommend them. Oh, yeah, for sure. That makes sense. The attitudes of healthcare workers also greatly influences patients. A study done in Denmark about the attitudes of certain doctors regarding the MMR. A study was done regarding the MMR. The study found that the average vaccination rate in practice with unreservedly positive attitudes was 85%. Okay, so while it's entirely the choice of each individual, there is even controversy amongst different healthcare workers. Doctors and nurses often feel pressured because of the direct correlation between their own vaccination beliefs and their patients. I don't understand that. They feel pressured because they know their beliefs are important to their patients. They have to have their beliefs no matter what, right? Oh, you might need another video. Yes, I think you will. So I'm just going to start one now.